My friends, good evening. His name is Tyler Robinson. He's 22 years old. He's a student from his state. He's from Utah. He was arrested. He didn't live very far from the scene of the crime. He's the shooter the United States has been looking for since yesterday. He confessed to his father, and then from there it snowballed and he was arrested by the sheriff's office. So he's 22 years old. He's not a career military man. He's more of a student. However, the accuracy of the shot can be explained because there are photos of him that were taken from his social media. You can see him at ages 12, 14, 16, and so on, handling weapons. So you can sense this fascination with guns, which is pretty common over there. It's quite normal. That means this fascination you see, or this closeness to weapons, is something normal. It's not a particular or special family. I've already eaten at people's homes in Utah where during the meal we arrive, and then they show you the latest shotgun that was given as a birthday or Christmas present, the M16 against the wall over there in the back and everything. And all these weapons, they're loaded weapons. And even children, even 10-year-old kids know to be careful with them, know how to handle them and all that. The accident will remain. So it's someone who was used to shooting, which explains the precision of what he did in the assassination, right? America today is first of all honoring the dead because it's having its Charlie moment, its I am Charlie moment. But the psychological impact is much stronger than the Charlie Hebdo attack in France at the time. We are even, I almost dare to say, we are extremely close to Kennedy. It's something that will be talked about for years and years. So the body was transported by the Air Force. There's also a big, long police procession on the road with motorcycles and everything, passing under an American flag that's being raised by a crane. And I want to say that having seen it from a distance, but also up close, Americans really know how to mark an occasion. They know how to honor their dead. They know how to create an extremely noble, extremely dignified decorum. Seeing it in person is truly impressive. And this isn't a jab, it's really not a jab, but I notice, for example, when I compare the two events, for example, the death of Charlie Kirk, and I compare it to the death of Jacques Chirac, who died of natural causes. And then I see the coffin placed right on the ground with Macron standing like this in front of it. It's true, it really stands out. I don't think unless I'm mistaken, I don't think Macron invented this ritual or anything. But it's true that you can immediately see it lacks elegance, it lacks dignity. It's not, when you look at the traditions of peoples around the world, there's no such tradition. They lay the dead person down and then someone stands over him like this, towering above, like, you're dead, I'm here, it's true. All right, that's it. I just wanted to say that, just to mention it in passing. Now, I would still like to. I've seen quite a few. I've gotten several messages from people sending photos, saying the person captured isn't the same as the one whose images were shared yesterday. And that's something I had already pointed out even before the arrest of this guy named Tyler Robinson. By the way, I get the impression that half the people in Utah are named Robinson. But anyway, that's just a detail. I was saying that yesterday, when the FBI footage was circulating, it was surveillance camera footage. But there you go, that's what they gave. There are people who took that footage, gave it to artificial intelligences and said, here, improve these images for me. You should never do that. Why? Because it's well known what artificial intelligence will do. It will put a face over it for you. So it will generate a face and stick it onto your image. So it's not an enhanced image. It's literally a regenerated image. So yeah. So the head it creates, clearly it won't be the same one. I also noted that when we arrest him, it won't be the same person. We should stop using these methods. It's not the first time people have done this, and it's not the first time we've seen that indeed they don't look alike. So the motivations, well, there you go. You guessed it. It's democratic extremism. So it's someone who, as they said, became radicalized. So it wasn't his family who radicalized him because his family seems to be normal people. Notwithstanding the weapons I mentioned earlier, which are a cultural fact over there in that region, it's not a sign of a violent family or anything like that. We don't really see it that way in Europe. We might think, oh, yes, they're violent. No, 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 it's completely normal over there. Having a gun is like having a fork or a kitchen knife. It's normal. There's nothing special about it. His family are people who seem like good people, and today they too are grieving somewhere. Because on one side, there's the family of this victim, and on the other side, there's the family of this killer. It's a family that wakes up to a nightmare they once saw on television, but now they're living it. Today, they've lost their child, who will never see the light of day. Either he will be, or he will die in prison, or he will face the death penalty. Because that's probably what will happen after spending 17 or 20 years writing books against violence on death row. It's terrible. It's terrible for everyone, really. So the question people are asking today is who radicalized him and how did he become radicalized? Now, you see, these are just the terms we use. 10 years ago, we talked about Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. We talked about terrorist groups. We talked about radicalization. And we see that today we have a radicalization through another ideology that leads to terrorism. It's an extremist ideology. Woke, we're really talking about woke. And besides, I've often described Wokism as a new religion. And a few days ago, I had an interview with the Barons de Biz here in Mauritius, which is actually online. I'll give you the link in the description. But actually, at one point during the conversation, we said that Wokism is losing momentum. So with the arrival of Trump, yes, Wokism is losing momentum. But be careful, like any ideology, when it's losing momentum, what does it do? It often becomes more radical, and feeling threatened may use extreme violence to survive and maintain influence. But the fundamental mistake is that wokeism. There is a forced tolerance that has been applied, that has been put in place by the states, that has been written into the laws, that there are companies, the forces of money, that have financed it. So we have woks who claim to be victims. Meanwhile, we have banks, we have big companies that finance them and defend them. I mean, you're not a victim. You can't pretend to be a victim when you have the forces of money pouring billions into you. So what happened is that we took a kind of modern religion that was extremely minor but is dangerous, with its radicals, with its mentally disturbed people, with its violence. And what did we do? We completely turned a blind eye to these flaws. We didn't want to see them, and we started using it to ease our conscience. So we started pouring money into it, defending it and everything against all odds. The problem is these people are beyond criticism, leading to today's result. Today, it's already been about 10 years that they've had the monopoly literally on violence, and now it's escalating. And we'll see what Trump does, but it's going to turn out badly. I don't think they're just going to bury this guy and say, well, that's it, let's move on, as if nothing happened. I think there will be woke organizations that will be declared terrorist organizations that will be put in the same category as Al-Qaeda. People will go to prison for supporting them. Whereas until very recently, you could get blocked, banned, or even sued for criticizing them. So yeah, there's a very deep shift happening. And this precisely leads to radicalization. For example, today as well, we see radicalization. It comes from the United Kingdom. We have the Oxford Union, which is a student organization at the University of Oxford. And what's terrible is that Charlie Kirk came there in January this year to debate, He's a debater who enjoys friendly verbal sparring and idea exchanges. There have been times when he defended his critics. That means, for example, sometimes he's in a debate and then the audience starts to boo or do things like that to someone who's debating with him. He stopped them and told them not to do that. His goal wasn't to humiliate or break anyone. It was really to talk and exchange. Let me tell you, as long as we're people, having lived through a civil war in my country, I can tell you something simple. As long as people can debate, can talk, they're not killing each other. Titteridge, Canada, wars happen. When we can no longer talk, when it's weapons, when it's the crackling of weapons that replaces the microphones. And at that point, it's over. The debates, the conversations, the meetings in the middle, the compromises, it's all over. And then we reach a radicalization that means, well, that's it. The other person has to disappear. There's no room for both of us. That's the risk. As I was saying, Oxford Union, who write on their Twitter that they are the oldest union of intellectual debate organizations, and all that since 1823 or something like that. Don't quote me on 23 or 28. You get it, 2 centuries. Well, their elected president, that means their new president, the one who will replace the current president. He's a guy from Nigeria. He was recruited. I'm not sure how. Previously, Oxford required top grades, but it seems his grades aren't as high. Pretty average, but he still got into Oxford. We're likely dealing with a misdemeanor approach. He actually debated. Listen to this. He debated. He has photos inside Oxford with Charlie Kirk. By the way, the dress code was suit and tie, and Charlie Kirk showed up dressed like that. Whereas usually when he's on university campuses, he's in a t-shirt. But out of respect for the institution, he came dressed in a 3-piece suit. The guy across from him showed up in a top. It looks like a big t-shirt and slippers. He was dressed like he just got out of bed, like he just put down his coffee. And then he showed up like that. That's the student union president. Even worse, he congratulated himself on the death of the guy he debated with just a few months ago. So that's where we are. Universities, today, we say he was radicalized or he wasn't radicalized in basement mosques. Here, we're talking about Wokism. Actually, people are being radicalized today in universities. And you all know those photos where there are young people, young women, young men entering universities, including centuries-old Ivy League and world-renowned universities. And who come out like vegetables? After a few months, a few years, what we get back are vegetables. And here we have a 22-year-old guy who is ready to kill and who actually did it, who killed. He used to say he spreads hate, but with his rifle, he claims to spread love. That's it, my friends. It's an extremely disastrous situation, of course. You realize there's a psychological impact. A lot of people feel that we've crossed, there's a line, there's something, there's a before and an after. In reality, it's one of those events. It's not fair. It's just not fair. Someone shoots themselves or gets shot, we blame guns, hold funerals, say goodbye, and move on. No, something really deep broke today. And we'll see in the weeks and months to come, we'll see the consequences of all this. We'll watch together. In any case, thank you for watching this video up to this point, and I'll see you in the next one very soon, up to this point. See you soon in the next one.